Today I'm going to show you how to turn this mirror into a full-on medicine cabinet. So this thing's not going to be complicated to put together at all. We already did the shelf in the living room, which you can watch at the end of this video, but there are some notable changes. We're using 1x4s instead of 1x6s, and the shelf is a whole lot smaller. The biggest thing we need to worry about though is the mirror itself, because we're now putting on a mirror that's going to swing open and close. It has some weight to it, unless you use a lightweight plastic or some kind of flexible mirror that's not going to crack and shatter. You also have to worry about what the frame's made out of. Is it going to crack because it's a plastic or it's a softwood so it rips out? We need to think of how it's going to be mounted to the wall. We need to think about if the hinges themselves are going to be big enough. So in order to be able to put the hinges on it, we had to put the 1x4 on the edge. But then that meant that we weren't going to be able to have anywhere to grab onto because the other side needed to be on the edge for the clasp. So what we did was the top and the bottom got moved in right up against where the mirror meets the frame, allowing us to have that gap on the top and the bottom to be able to grab from. We're just going to put the shelves in the middle. So I learned my lesson from last time, or at least temporarily, because let's be honest, we all know that I'm not going to stick to it. I am not holding it this time. I am keeping myself away from it as I go and shoot it in. This way, I don't shoot my finger again or have another one come out, strike something. That's why I'm also pointing it down. Instead of having it on a table or something where it can shoot and veer off and hit something, I shot it towards the floor. All right, so a couple of things I got going on here. Obviously, I put it back on the mirror, but the reason I did that was so this way I can make sure that we didn't have any overhang on the sides. I also wanted to make sure that these pretty much lined up where I wanted them to be. And I also took my square and made sure that all four corners were square, because we've got the glue drying, but before it sets, we can make adjustments since it's brad nailed in. You just slightly turn it if you need to. Everything looks good to go. We had to decide the spacing on the shelves. So I did what I did with the living room shelf and just put real products in there where I think my wife might use it. I went ahead to make sure that they were actually correct, and I put the square in there for the bottom ones so that this way I knew that it was set. And I also spaced the top one 10 inches, which we're going to double check. See, it needs to be adjusted a little bit. I also went ahead and glued it before I ever set anything in. Now we're going to take our bar clamp, lock everything down, check all the adjustments and the measurements again before we shoot the nails into these shelves. Then we'll move on to putting the back on. Also, make sure that you remove the products and take it off the mirror. You don't want a nail coming through, hitting this, exploding, or cracking the glass on you. Take this off and do it somewhere else. All right, now that the shelves are in place, you want to go ahead and make sure everything's square. I know it's kind of redundant, but you want to make sure everything's set before the glue hardens on you. This way, if any adjustments need to be made, you can make them now, because you can go ahead and adjust these shelves if for some reason the measurements were off. We're going to go ahead and take these existing brackets out, figure out where we want our hinges to be and our magnetic clasp to be, and set them before we put the back on, because once we put the back on, there's no way we have a bird's eye view and we can't get in there and actually get in where we need to put everything. And then you're going to have a clasp here and try to figure out where the magnetic backing goes and all that. It's not going to work. Alright, so as you can tell, I made a major mistake. It's a good thing we didn't put the back on. That's what happens when you keep working and it's mid-morning. I just need to move these hinges to the outside so it opens more than 1.5 inches, but I'm not doing that right now. Plus, we never let the glue cure on the corners anyway to hold it all in place, so I just re-squared it. I know it's good to go. I'm going to set it to the side and we'll re-tackle it after it dries and I get some sleep. So now that I got some sleep, we got it to open, but it's almost the same time in the morning, so let's make some new mistakes. I did learn from last time on something else too, though. We're not going to go ahead and put the back on, flip it over, and try to cut it out, because that was an absolute disaster. What I did instead was I put it on with the factory square edges, made sure that it was lined up with the actual thing that we built, marked the other sides, put it on the floor, cut it out. So what we need to do is put it on, but we have the mirror underneath, and if one of them staples shoots through because it's too much power, it's a weak spot in the board, and we miss, we're going to have the mirror shatter or crack, rendering the whole thing useless. So I probably should take it off, but I don't want to mess with them hinges again. And like I said, it's time to make some new mistakes. So what we're going to do instead is I'm going to open it up, put it on the table. The only problem with that is it's going to let the mirror hang down, which is where I said the mistakes are coming in. Let's try it and see how it turns out. It's a good thing I moved the mirror, because when I first started, I heard a ping, but I only thought one went through. When I cleaned the table, come to find out 3 were on it. All right, well, there it is, all finished up. Because of the way my bathroom is, I could not get a shot of it on the wall, so I brought it back out here to show you guys. But I painted it so this way it kind of seals it, and it also has an acrylic that matches the mirror. That's how we did it, so go build you one.